Good, everyone. This is Steve Bell, one of VDEM's training managers. We're pleased to welcome you all to this afternoon's webinar about VDEM's reorganization. To limit background noise, we'll be muting all participant lines during the session. If you have questions during the presentation or comments, please do ask them or make comments. We just ask you do so via the chat feature. Simply type them in. They'll be answered with Dr. Stern breaks for questions. If you would ask your questions or make your comments verbally, we ask that you hold those until the end. At the end, an opportunity to provide feedback to include suggestions for topics, and we would very much appreciate yours. It will be recorded, and the link will be provided to all registered participants to view the recorded session. And Dr. Stern, State Coordinator of Emergency Management.
Hello, everybody. This is Jeff. I appreciate you taking time out of your afternoons. I'm going to take about 10 to 12 minutes and discuss what we were calling the Strategic Roadmap for Emergency Management in Virginia. A few of you have seen this. We came out with this publicly in May. I'm going to play a 5-minute video that our external affairs staff has done a really great job of putting together that kind of gives, it's a YouTube video, gives an overview of the reorg, what the organization looks like that we put in place in July. And then we're up for questions, as many as you have. I know some of you have asked for more understanding of what we're doing at VDEM. It was our intent to deliver this to you when we initiated in July, but as we are sometimes just juggling a bunch of priorities, it took us the part of 6-7 weeks here to get all of this together, so better now than not. So Cree has pulled up, for those of you that are have the graphics up, a page slide that we're calling the Strategic Roadmap for Emergency Management in Virginia. It's specifically that and not the roadmap for VDEM because it's meant to help all of us. It was built over the last year based on feedback I got internally from VDEM employees. We divided up into 10 different employee task groups to give us advice on the agency. We could do things better. From the coordinators briefings I did with you all, from a lot of interaction with you all in the field, at meetings, in person, via phone, and then discussing with our other stakeholders, other state agencies, the federal government, Department of Homeland Security, and FEMA. And so it's purposely not a very detailed 100-page plan that requires all kinds of different work because we coordinate and we want to set the broad kind of image of the Emerald City and then have everybody be able to kind of build the yellow brick road from their different directions toward it. It is designed to give us maximum flexibility, given the fact we all operate in an environment that's constantly changing, and that's our job, is to bring coordination to chaos. You'll see top. It'll be a standard risk equation that you all are familiar with, where risk is a function of threat or hazard, vulnerability, or consequence, and we know as emergency managers, we ultimately and inherently risk managers. We can't buy our way to prevent and protect and mitigate every single potential catastrophe, so we have to base our decisions on our resources and fund allocations on risk. The hazards change over time, bodies change, consequences change depending on the nature of the incident and our changing demographics, etc. So below that is a word map of kind of things in the last year or two that have been some of maybe all of them, but just kind of a broad swath of some of the new emergent as well as persistent threats and hazards in Virginia. So whether it be crude, ISIL, cybersecurity as challenges to the long-standing tradition of problems of hurricanes, tornadoes. The economy impacts us and is part of our operating environment at the state and local level. So last year, as you know, we had a $2.5 billion state budget deficit, had a 6% cut in our general fund. This year, we have the repercussions of a 7% cut in our general fund from that. And for the folks, and I realize this is the conversation with the folks that are in our western region under the new reorg, the Hampton Roads folks on the east side lost their Urban Security Initiative designation. That's a loss of $1 million a year. And so these things all impact all our operations. The columns at the bottom of this one slide are designed on the left side where it says current capabilities and approach to just have a few things illustrate some of the ways VDEM has been organized in the past. Again, the context of our working and operating environment and how it's changed. So grants, traditionally we've had grants managed in one of VDEM's different divisions. They have been managed separately with their own individual strategies, and they have not necessarily all been put on the same page, to speak, same sheet of music, so that we can make sure that strategically they're all working together. Our deployment posture, as you know, is very Richmond-centric, and I enjoyed some trips down to Southwest Virginia this year. I was asked very candidly, hey, why does the Region 4 planner need to be in Richmond? And I can come up with a good answer for that. So those things started to take place, how we started thinking about how we would reorganize the agency. Professional development, as all of us went through in emergency management, has pretty much been on-the-job training. And if we're going to get proficient, you've heard me talk about this, we've got to figure out a way to build the same basic building blocks of fundamental training and education for everybody coming into the field, just like firefighters get in the academy, police get in a police academy, etc. So we understand that's just currently how we've been doing it, and that's not just emergency management in Virginia, that's all over the country. Situation awareness, we with the exception of hurricanes and some weather events, have very little predictability and very little ability. Once we figure out something's happening, it takes a while. There's kind of a gap between what happens and where we ramp up the EOC, where it's somewhat of a heavy lift for us to do the analytic work to figure out, okay, what's the worst case scenario of this train that just crashed? What are the cascade impacts down the road? Where's it likely to go? That takes some time to put together, and so we're trying to figure out ways we can better situational awareness of what is going on in real time, rather than having to wait constantly for you all to tell us what you need a day or two after an incident or late into it, and then figure out how analytically we can figure out what does that incident mean, what are repercussions, so we can alert the right people and begin to support you in your response. And lastly on here, and again, this is just a few of the things in the way we've been organized traditionally. Within, we know that many of our divisions provided their own training. We had several different exercises that were in different parts of the agency organized differently, whether it be the BOPEX exercise organized in the old preparedness division, or the Vertex that was done in operation support of our training division, similar for planning and some of our resources. And we ended up competing against ourselves with you. So there were occasionally times where we might have 2 or 3 training events or exercise and training events that different divisions had scheduled for you all from VDEM in the same week, because we have that coordinated centrally. And so this governor has established, we believe it's the first time a governor has done this, a vision for emergency management in the Commonwealth. You heard me talk about this for the last year, 4 core initiatives. We want to be integrated in our response together with you, local, state, federal, private, volunteer, and want to do this fast. So this is the whole community working in a coordinated fashion. We need to be strategic and sustainable with our grant programs, our fund over time. As we know, the federal funding has dropped quite a bit. Build regional capacity for disaster response, and we want to this on the job training and build professional pathways for you and for our staff. And actually very proud that Virginia is very quickly moving into the leadership role in the country. We offered 2 fundamentals of emergency management academies. The superintendent of the Emergency Management Institute in Emmitsburg at FEMA just informed us last week we're going to be the very first state delivered, starting in November, the Advanced Emergency Management Academy. So we're quickly getting at the forefront of what it is to build our profession together as part of this initiative. And we set 2015 goals. So for VDEM specifically, the that we'll show next will illustrate the kind of 3 phases of our reorg, but we've realized the Virginia Emergency Response Team is now the Virginia Emergency Support Team to accurately reflect what we do in support of you. So every single VDEM employee is now being considered an all-hazards emergency manager and will have a role if they're based in Richmond at headquarters in the VOC. That was not necessarily true in the past, and so we're giving every single employee this month a week of VOC orientation, baseline training, and they will be assigned to one of 3 teams on the VEST, and we're going to work with other state partners, other agencies to help build out that structure. Reorganize in July. That's what the video will show, and then we'll take questions on. And we are in the process by the end of the year of identifying regional offices where we can locate these integrated regional staff together, very similar to the model that we had up in Region 7 in Northern Virginia. And our intent is to double the number of regional staff from in the 20s to 40 or so by the end of, I should say, within a year, I think is realistic for hiring that up. I'm hoping by the end of the year, as we reallocate some of those positions, that will benefit you directly in support to you. And statewide, some initiatives, we turned with the State Homeland Security Grant Program entirely to the stakeholder groups in May. May was the first time we showed this slide publicly. I'm going to give you copies of this slide because I think this is a good way for you to talk with your staff and your community leaders just as we can about the challenges of emergency management. Again, it's a lot easier to talk about one piece of paper, one slide than it is, I think, a 100-page detailed plan for this particular need. We're looking strategically to integrate all the different funding sources at VDEM, and so we're creating a chief financial officer position, and all the granted finances that have been in different parts of the agency will eventually be rolled together under that. And then we're counting, we've been talking about this for a year, counting the response assets. So in partnership with fire programs, we did a program called Mutual Aid Net that's in the process we're going to get from all the police departments, fire departments, emergency management agencies, basically the how many command units are there, how many bomb squads, how many SWAT teams, hazmat teams. We'll be able to track all of that in state, and then through a program with National Emergency Managers Association and through EMAC system, actually be able to have the logistics section have pre-established mission packages so that when mutual aid is required out of state, Virginia resources can at the forefront of getting out of the state to go support others in the United States. And long-term goals are to seek additional non-grant funding sources. Emergency management in Virginia, both at VDEM and for many of you, we're 83% reliant on grants. Two-year budget, over $100 million over the 2-year budget cycle, $83 million approximately is grant funding. And with congressional and a potential sequester in Congress in a couple of months, it just shows how reliant we are on that grant funding. If it stops and we can't pass the money through to you, you know that that is not good for emergency management for us as a Commonwealth. We want to maximize the amount of money we do get from grants. So we're trying to think creatively of how we tee up grants to FEMA and Homeland Security and look for other funding sources, ensure our programs are sustainable, that we're not buying stuff and capability that we can't fund when the grant runs out, and then further define and continue to build on our capabilities for hazmat and communication, situational awareness, all the stuff you see there. So again, a lot of stuff on one slide, but it's designed for all of us. I figure we will update this on an as-needed basis every year to two, every other year. This is really the why. Why are we changing at VDEM? Well, the operating environment and the risks have changed. And so we want to change our posture to be more responsive to that operating environment and have more resources in real time for you. And so with that, with the deep breath at the 12 to 13 minute mark, Dyson is saying I did pretty good. I'm going to turn it back to Christy for the video. Runs 5 minutes, and then we will take your questions. Thank you.
Hello, Dr. Jeff Stern, State Coordinator at the Virginia Department of Emergency Management. Is in the midst of a major reorganization, intended to make the department more effective and responsive to the threats and hazards we face today. This video explains some of our most significant changes. I hope you find it helpful.
Virginia must be prepared for a wide range of challenges in today's dynamic risk environment. To promote a more resilient Commonwealth, Governor McAuliffe has laid out a vision for emergency management that includes enhancing each region's capacity to respond to disaster, creating more professional development opportunities for Virginia's emergency coordinators, ensuring a quick and integrated response from our public agencies and community partners, and building preparedness programs that are both strategic and sustainable over time. The purpose of restructuring VDEM is to realize this vision of strengthening the Commonwealth's ability to prepare, mitigate, respond, and recover from disasters we face together. VDEM reorganization consists of three phases. First, operating under the approach that every employee is an all-hazard emergency management professional, the Emergency Response Team in the state's Emergency Operations Center is being reorganized as the Virginia Emergency Support Team, or VEST. All VDEM staff will be trained and assigned to one of three VEST teams. With agency partners from the various emergency support functions, they will train and exercise together on a weekly basis and the Virginia Emergency Operations Center during disasters, sustaining around-the-clock operations. Phase 2 of the reorganization took place July 1st and consisted of a comprehensive reorganization of the headquarters organizational structure to integrate previously disparate programs. Instead of 12 divisions reporting to the State Coordinator's Office, VDEM is now configured into two distinct bureaus, a Disaster Services Bureau and a Mission Support Bureau. The divisions for local support services, preparedness, technological hazards, and operations have been disbanded, and the programs reassigned. In the new organization, the Disaster Services Bureau will oversee two geographic divisions. Regional Support East will consist of VDEM Regions 1, 5, and 7. Regional Support West will consist of VDEM Regions 2, 3, 4, and 6. Each region will be led by a Chief Regional Coordinator, and the former local support service staff members have been renamed as Disaster Response and Recovery Officers. The Disaster Support Services Bureau will also have a Response Programs Division to coordinate special operations such as hazmat, search and rescue, urban search and rescue, technical rescue, incident management teams, the radio cache systems, and logistics. All planning across the agency has been integrated into a single planning division, which will conduct strategic planning and integrate operational planning and daily situation awareness through the VDEM Watch Center and intelligence analysis from the Virginia Fusion Center. The Mission Support Bureau, led by a new career deputy coordinator, will administer human resources, information technology, recovery and mitigation, a chief financial officer, and the training, education, and exercises divisions. To expand and promote professional development, VDEM will instill a culture of continuous education, providing an ongoing learning track for our emergency management professionals. Under the previous structure, different divisions provided training and conducted exercises. Individual division training and exercise activities will now be consolidated within and supported by the new Training, Education, and Exercise Division. Because of the continuing reduction of federal grants, we must maximize the use of money Virginia receives. VDEM is consolidating its grant management activities in the new Finance and Grants Division, led by a newly created Chief Financial Officer. In the third phase of the reorganization, we will establish regional offices across the Commonwealth based on the successful model instituted in Region 7 several years ago. The next year, VDEM will initiate the process to double the number of staff assigned to regional operations, and every region will have, as a minimum, a Chief Regional Coordinator, a Disaster Response and Recovery Officer, a Hazmat Officer, and a Regional All Hazards Planner, working as an integrated team to support our local governments alongside other state agencies and our private sector and voluntary agencies active in disaster partners. The transformation underway at VDEM reflects our commitment to the people of Virginia to improve our capability to quickly and effectively respond to and recover from the many threats and hazards we face.
VDEM is changing to meet the current and emerging risks facing Virginia, and we will continue to stand ready to help you prepare, mitigate, respond, and recover. Remember, a ready Virginia is a resilient Virginia.
That concludes the audio-visual portion. Christy's now going to give instructions to Q&A on how to tee up questions that you have.
Okay, we're going to pause for just a minute here and let anyone who would like to ask questions type those out via the chat window on the right side of your screen. That'd be the preferable way of asking questions. With about 65 callers this afternoon, it's going to be real difficult to unmute lines and keep everybody straight trying to go verbally. So if you have questions, let's just pause for a minute and let anyone that wants to ask those via the chat window. There will be an opportunity to ask questions verbally once we finish up with the chat window questions. But again, it's going to be difficult to manage that with a large number of callers, so I'd encourage you to do it via the chat window if you can. Okay, well, first question from David Moody. Change cost, I'm sorry, it's not from David Moody, excuse me, it's from Jimmy Moss. How is this change cost effective with a smaller operating budget?
Question, we ran through the numbers and basically are doing this in a cost-neutral fashion. You had to verify that for the governor's office and for the Department of Budgets and Programs when we started planning for this about 5 or 6 months ago. So there's not something that was done overnight. Our employees numbers remaining the same. We have 155 positions at VDEM. We currently have over 50 vacancies. We're actually in the process of recruiting for those of you that are interested or know people that are looking for positions. And so because the number of employees aren't changing, but because of we froze hiring last summer, as some of you know, because of the state budget crisis and not knowing what the impact would be. Then as we began to rehire, when we went to the reorg, we had about 10 employees elect to retire. And so with those open vacancies, we can reallocate their position to regions without taking on additional cost. So the regional planner that I referred to earlier as an example for Region 4 that might have previously been based in preparedness in our local support planning part of the organization, since that's an open full-time position, we re-advertise that position to be based in a different region at no change in cost. The office is, and I think there is another question related to that.
Read that one.
Yeah. So anyway, that'll answer that question there, and I think the next question also will answer it.
Okay. The question from David Moody is: these new regional offices will be actual VDEM offices or people working from their homes, etc.?
Yeah. The intent is that these will be physical offices, and this is also part of the cost neutrality of it. We have mapped out every single state public safety facility across the state, and the regional staff right now are in the process of determining whether they're adequate enough space to co-locate with us. So the Department of Fire Programs, the state police, the Virginia National Guard, and other agencies, Department of Transportation, have lots of facilities, and because we're looking at kind of a minimal footprint for 5 folks, most likely, we are looking for actual office space. There's already some models for this, so we have a robust office up in Region 7. I know there's, for Willie Richardson, has an office that one of the community colleges has provided. So we're looking for creative space like that, and folks will operate, still road a lot, but to get them functioning as a team together. VDEM is not changing anything what we do, just how we do it, to have an integrated team with more folks in the regions. We're going to provide them some working space, and I hope that answers your question. Do we expect them to be implemented? We expect offices to be identified by the end of the year and to implement over time as soon as is feasible. So I would think that we hopefully have these spaces identified. In Region 7, it already exists. In Region 1, it will exist because we're going to house the regional office for Region 1 at Trade Court. For those of you in your region out west, we're looking up and down the different corridors, and we may also, because of some of the region's lengths in the western region, have a couple of sub-offices that are located. So we're integrating a lot of different moving pieces together. The VDEM Technical Hazards Division had previously been divided up into 8 different regions, and so those 8 regions have been disbanded, and we are going to put the technological hazards, the hazardous materials officers, within the footprint of the 7 VDEM region. And so a lot of that is administratively just figuring out what the administrative and managerial chain of command is. And we're looking at co-locating. A couple of local governments have even offered the opportunity for us to co-locate with them, and so we're open to that.
I think you got part of this, but I'm not sure you got the entire point. Cheryl Wilson wants to know about the timeline for the new positions and reorganized positions, so I think she wanted to
thanks.
the entire part of
Yeah, I missed that. So timeline for the new positions. We're advertising them now. We're our human resources staff is busy at work. You go to the state hiring website or the website. We're also advertising with the International Association of Emergency Managers and the National Emergency Managers Association, and on LinkedIn, looking to cast a wide net for the best folks. You will see 2, 3, 4 positions advertised a week for the next several months as we look to fill these positions. So we're currently reviewing advertisements from a few weeks ago now, positions that had closed for VDEM staff that will be provided to the Office of the Secretary of Public Safety and Homeland Security. We'll be providing some coordination positions for critical infrastructure, cybersecurity, resilience, budget, etc., state-wide interoperability. Those will be VDEM staff assigned there, and so we're involved in that. And then we'll fill these empty positions as fast as we can move, with the intent that the majority of them will be in process or will be filled by January 1st. So it's an exciting opportunity for all of us. Emergency Management in Virginia, and then the Training and Education and Exercise Division will be very busy running academies to get everybody that baseline professional training that we described.
Questions from Alan. Is anything going to be updated to the LAMPG for funding of going to training/academy?
I'm not sure if I understand the question related to LAMPG. Alan, let me say that the academy programs are intended to be provided cost-free to the local caution. I'm going to Susan Mongold, our Training, Education, and Exercise Division, happens to be sitting across from me at the table. Susan, would you see if you can answer a question as you have the training structure?
Well, LAMPG to begin with is available to support localities if they have training. Now, a lot of people use that, or localities use that to fund positions and not to fund training, but that's decision making at the local level. The cost of the academy it's a sharing model that we developed. We cut the cost of the instructors, all the instruction material, and provide the lodging for the participants. We asked for a $360 contribution from the lodgalities to cover the cost of the meals, and we ran that through FEMA, and that typically states don't provide any money towards lodging or meals, but we felt very strongly about this being a program that the residential experience is part of what makes it so powerful, and so we worked on a model that was cost sharing, with the smallest portion of it going towards the localities. At this point, that's been sustained, and we haven't had any issues, but LAMPG money is a category. The type of funding for that is allowable to use towards that 360 if a locality chooses to do that.
I think you wanted to address other trainings as well. Did you want to? talk about, oh yeah, all the trainings are free.
Any other training we offer is free. We try to move it, training into areas of the state to address the catchment areas so that nobody has to drive more than an hour. Of course, it doesn't always hit everything people want when they want it. And if they're training outside of what we offer, clearly, and it's allowable expenditures, LEMPG funding could be used to pay for registration of things, if that's something a locality wanted to do. There are also trainings that are available at no charge through the DHS consortium. They're available to all localities. Typically, they focus on first responders. In the cases of that, there's an application process that comes to our office, and expenses are covered for that by DHS funding.
And Alan, let us know whether that answered your question to your satisfaction, or whether we need to expand on anything. But appreciate that.
Or if too much, Alan, you can just hit #6 and unmute yourself and just do it verbally.
Any other questions?
I don't have any questions via the chat window. Do you want to go ahead and open it up?
Yeah.
Verbal? Okay, don't see any other, well, hold on, there's another question from window. That's from Green. Will the special funds, Dominion funds management affect localities that are provided funding directly from Dominion for emergency preparedness?
Again, I'm going to hope I understand your directly. The special funds are still, that we're aware of, are provided through VDEM on behalf of Dominion. What we hope to do is to meet our obligation that our funds be strategic and sustainable is get all these stakeholders together, and there's plans underway. We actually just had a meeting on this last week. Communities within the 10-mile EPZ, we're going to be getting together similar to what we did with the State and Security Grant Program to have a discussion about how we can all be strategic and sustainable to make sure we are get a good return on investment for Dominion's funds. And our ultimate goal, I've had discussions with Dominion, is I think if we can make even more business case, we may have the opportunity to get more funding from Dominion for the REP program. We want to make sure that we are expending those REP program funds strategically alongside all the other funding that we have in the agency. And so we're going to have a meeting with the localities and sit down and just talk through the history of how allocated, is it working, are we sustaining existing capacity or building new capabilities that we need. And so the funding's not going away, but we're going to have a discussion, and this will probably, similar to what we did with State Homeland, this will probably be a year where the funding will wind up being allocated very similar to how it's been in the past. We'll have a strategic meeting and decide whether we continue that way or whether we all collectively want to do something a little different, see if we can improve it. Answers your question.
A clarification from Michael Schler, talking about radiological planning. The jurisdictions found in the 2 nuclear power stations had a dedicated planner and program manager that provided assistance with Dominion and FEMA in our planning efforts. In the reorganization, we do not see where radiological will fit in the new program. The RAD provided a niche in our planning efforts for not only to a nuclear incident, but all had planning during several non-nuclear incidents. We were able to run our emergency operations much faster than VDEM or other localities.
I understand your question correctly. The REP program had existed, integrated all together in the preparedness in VDEM. However, like many of the programs that we have, all these programs were operating in silos. And so what we've done is reorganize to go from kind of functional-based, siloed, different divisions to a geographic structure. So your planners for both North Anna and what we hope to do is through the all hazards planner positions that will be based in the regions, take on much of that responsibility. And then there will continue to be program management in support of the exercises, as well as planning through the planning division that is going to inherit within the Disaster Services Bureau. The planning division will inherit the planning aspects and program management of the Legacy Rep program. And we're actually in ongoing, I don't even want to call it discussions, but just ongoing conversations with Dominion to explain, to show them how this brings actually all the rest of VDEM in support of the REP program, as opposed to trying to have a standalone program that would just handle REP and a standalone program that would handle technological hazards and a standalone program that would handle hurricanes, etc. We're going with the all hazards model. So our goal and intent is to, with more staff assigned to the regions, be able to continue to handle that well. And I'm glad to hear that you had positive aspects in experiences, but the planners will be based at the local level. You should be seeing over time, as we get those positions filled, an even greater integration and greater effort there. That's our intent, and I expect I'll hear back from you if we're not meeting it. Thank you.
And Walters, will staff be added will our regional coordinators change?
So if we refer to the video, and I'll have to capture it as a slide because it's a good one. Each region will have at a minimum, as we said, a regional coordinator. That is a new position, and then we will have the old local support services coordinators are now being called disaster response and recovery officers. We have the HAZMAT officers, and then the all hazards regional planner. Everybody previously had a planner, and nobody had the actual chief regional coordinator, which was supposed to be kind of a field level supervisor, equivalent to like a state police captain or lieutenant, if you think about it in those terms. So with those new positions, you'll have more staff. The staff in the regions that are there, the folks that have been retitled. Really the change here is to get folks to work as a team together with the full authority of VDEM and an understanding of 90% of the stuff that's going on in the agency that you handle and can be handled at the regional level. I'll use the example of the winter storms back in January and February. We're really proud of the work that Willie Richardson and Jack Tolbert did down there, but we shouldn't have to have one or two VDEM staff that have to help support multiple counties. We should have a cadre office of folks, and we'll have at least 4 by next year, that can do that and then be that initial first 12, 20, 48 hours of support while we bring in the rest of VDEM or move assets from elsewhere in the state to support you operationally. So folks elect to voluntarily apply for a lateral transfer to a different region. The faces that you see will be there. We will have a competitive process to determine who will become the chief regional coordinators. Right now, we selected 7 people from different aspects of the division. So there was the old technological hazard staff in the regions, the old local support services staff, just a couple of planners that were regionally based, and we picked 7 of those folks to serve until the end of the year as acting regional coordinators. The disaster response recovery officers make up a few of those, but otherwise they'll continue to do all the work that they have done previously as local support services, plus with some additional training, be integrated more. HAZMAT officers will continue to do HAZMAT response training, but we'll also have some additional, again, as part of an integrated team, all hazards, emergency management, response experience, and then the planners, as we establish them, will do their all hazards planning. Any of them will be able to compete for the chief regional coordinator positions. Those positions, when established fully right now, the acting really focused on identifying where potential places for the regional offices. How do we identify who else does from the other state agencies is available to be partners in emergency response of the 110,000 state employees that are out there, and how do we just change for the administrative daily management and supervision of the employees in the regions. We changed that reporting structure to make it more geographic and decentralized as opposed to reporting back to Richmond. By the beginning of the year, we will, as we establish these regional offices and select through this project the chief regional coordinators, each of those offices will be given, based on the threats and hazards and risks in those regions, a different set of annual performance metrics related to everything that VDEM does that we'll then use to measure how well we're helping you prepare. So let's see. Yes, we will. So let me answer the question really quickly then after the long-winded one. Yes, we're going to double the number of staff in the regions, and the regional coordinators will not change that unless they want to transfer somewhere, and their names, their titles may change, and their job duties may slightly evolve as they learn, and we all learn to work together as a regional team. So I hope, Shannon, that covers it from big to small.
Any other questions in the chat window? Anyone who would like to ask a question verbally, you can #6 on your phone, unmute yourself and ask your question verbally or make your comment verbally.
Question? This is in Winchester. With the advent of the regional offices, will requests for resources and assistance continue to go through the VOC, or will they go through the regional office and then to the VEOC?
Really great question. So right now, nothing has changed as far as requesting emergency resources. So you can call C on the 800 number, the regular number, email, our request into Web EOC. That is how, fundamentally we're going to maintain 20 hours a day, 7 days a week, our operational engagement. Just as you would do with any of the regional staff that's previously been there but not operating as an office, so there's an incident where you might have talked to your local support services staff member who now, who then would reach back to the EOC for you. That will still, be an avenue. There's no, to borrow from some of our other folks here, there's no wrong way to engage with us, but the final emergency back to the EOC is not changing at all. What we do hope to do through this is to have more resources available to you right there to help you through some of those decisions. In the long run, and with the long run I mean we're probably looking at a couple of years from now, we might consider in the western part, say, figuring out, and we've done this occasionally in the past, but when we have a really big incident, we need to create a regional reporting structure for the entire region to reduce the span of control of requests into the EOC. So right now, for day-to-day incidents and scale stuff, it's not a big deal for everybody to call the EOC directly. When we do a statewide incident like we would have with a large hurricane with severe inland flooding and perhaps the counties with states of emergency, 325 jurisdictions, that span of control breaks down very quickly to the point that it's designed to fail. So we are thinking through actually right now how we can put kind of a geographic organizing footprint using the regional offices on incident when it's big enough as an overlay to be the first point where resource requests would kind of get rerouted and then allocated so that we could have a better span of control, just like you would in any incident management or incident command system. Fundamentally, when you're making those first notifications, right now everything stays exactly as it's been. You'll just have more staff available to you by the time we build this out, and a better integrated team, and less of a burden on our team as well to be the one-stop shop for everything as a single person. So hopefully that will help answer your question.
Thank you.
Other vote questions or comments?
going to have some closing comment for you in a way to give feedback. We are going to be, we've recorded this, it'll be available for your partners that didn't get a chance to see this. We're going to make available over the next week a set of frequently asked questions, fact sheet that will be distributed out along with copy of the org chart, copy of the strategic roadmap for emergency management that you can use. Our staff was has been briefed on this in detail, can also answer many of these questions as they come up with the other partners, and then we're going to come up with an updated contact sheet. Look forward to with you to get ready for all hazards. I'm really excited for the western part of the state, especially when I would go out and visit, you would make very clear to me that we were too Richmond-centric, so I think you all will very much benefit by having additional staff live in your communities and available to initiate that response when needed and to help prepare and mitigate and do all the other good stuff that we do in between the disasters. The only thing we have on our matrix right now is I ask you to keep an eye next week on what will be Hurricane Erica. There are some pathways that call for it following the Hurricane Camille path inland and up into the state. So we're keeping a close track on that. Obviously, we know we are very much prone in your areas, many of your areas, to inland flooding, and that always gives us concern. Other than that, as things come up, I fully expect this reorganization is going to take a full 12 to 18 months to get everything operating at 100%. So, as part as I ask you and as colleagues, please know if there are things you see that we can do better, things that I've overlooked. This is the largest organization, I think, of probably any cabinet agency that's ongoing in this particular administration, but it's been done and designed very methodically over the last year, and it's the last 5-6 months as we've been planning for this to meet again the world we live in now and our operating environment, and so that we can better serve you and serve with you better. So I thank you. Christy, the final.
Again, thank you for coming, and if you would please take a minute, on the left side of your screen you now have a survey. You can fill it out right there on your screen. Just know what you thought about the webinar, whether you have any other questions after the webinar, and also whether you have any suggestions for future webinar topics. Thank you very much. Have a good day.